What makes a man rise from obscurity to shape the fate of empires? Born on August 15, 1769, in the small Corsican town of Ajaccio, Napoleon Bonaparte was far from a destined ruler. His father, Carlo Bonaparte, secured Napoleon a scholarship to a prestigious military school in France, marking the young boy's entry into a world where he would one day leave an indelible mark. As a boy, Napoleon was often teased for his Corsican accent and stature. Standing barely 5 feet, 6 inches tall, he was often underestimated by his peers. But what he lacked in physical presence, he more than made up for in intellect, discipline, and an unshakable belief in his destiny. Courage isn't having the strength to go on. It is going on when you don't have the strength, he famously said, embodying the very spirit that defined his life. At the military academy in Brienne, Napoleon displayed a rare focus, excelling in mathematics, history, and artillery tactics. He wasn't the most social, but he was the most determined. By the age of 16, he had become a second lieutenant in the French artillery, and when the French Revolution broke out in 1789, his opportunity arrived. Napoleon's rise to power was as swift as it was calculated. He first gained national fame during the Siege of Toulon in 1793, where his brilliant artillery tactics led to a decisive French victory. This success earned him the rank of brigadier general at just 24 years old, a meteoric rise in a time of political turmoil. But Napoleon wasn't just a soldier, he was a visionary. He understood that leadership required more than strategy. It required the ability to inspire. During his Italian campaign, he transformed a ragtag army into a disciplined force, using his charisma to convince soldiers that victory was inevitable. Under his leadership, they crushed Austrian forces and secured French dominance in Italy. Napoleon's ambitions knew no bounds. In 1798, he led an expedition to Egypt, seeking to disrupt British trade routes. Although the military campaign faced setbacks, Napoleon's discovery of the Rosetta Stone symbolized his dual commitment to conquest and culture. He returned to France from his campaign in Egypt to a hero's welcome, despite mixed results on the battlefield. His military prowess and ability to inspire the public made him a figure of hope for a nation battered by years of upheaval. But Napoleon had no intention of merely basking in public adoration. He had his sights set on power. The coup itself, where he took power, known as the coup d'état of 18 Brumaire, named after the revolutionary calendar date, November 9, 1799, was a meticulously planned and executed operation. Let's break it down. Napoleon understood that seizing power required more than military strength. It demanded political cunning. He worked behind the scenes to build alliances with key figures, including Emmanuel Joseph Sieyès, a member of the Directory, a governing 5-member committee body, and he secured the loyalty of his brother Lucien Bonaparte, who served as president of the Council of 500, one of France's legislative bodies. Lucien's position would prove critical in neutralizing opposition during the coup. This was the who, and here is the how. The coup was designed to replace the Directory with a more centralized government that Napoleon could control. Sieyès and his co-conspirators proposed a new constitution that would establish a consulate with 3 consuls at its helm, but Napoleon was already positioning himself to take the lead role within those 3 consuls. The conspirators used a fabricated threat of a Jacobin uprising to justify the need for immediate action. Napoleon's military reputation and the fear of further chaos made this narrative plausible to the public. On the morning of 18 Brumaire, Napoleon's troops surrounded Paris, effectively cutting off any opposition. Key government buildings, including the legislature, were secured by his forces. Napoleon personally addressed the Council of Ancients, the upper chamber of the legislature, and painted a dire picture of the country's situation, convincing them to transfer their sessions to a secure location in Saint-Cloud, just outside Paris. The move to Saint-Cloud served 2 purposes. It removed lawmakers from their power base in the capital, and it gave Napoleon's forces time to consolidate control. The Directory itself was dissolved with little resistance. The real challenge came on the following day, November 10th, when Napoleon faced the Council of 500, the lower chamber of the legislature. Here, opposition was fierce. Some members saw through the ruse and accused Napoleon of staging a military coup. Shouts of "outlaw him!" filled the chamber as chaos erupted. Napoleon, unaccustomed to such direct confrontation, stumbled and was physically forced out of the chamber by hostile lawmakers. It seemed for a moment that the coup might fail. This is where Lucien Bonaparte played a pivotal role. As president of the Council of 500, Lucien used his position to regain control of the situation. He accused the hostile lawmakers of plotting against the revolution itself and called for the intervention of Napoleon's troops. Napoleon's soldiers entered the chamber and dispersed the lawmakers, effectively ending any resistance. The Council of 500 was dissolved, and the path was clear for the establishment of a new government. By the evening of November 10, 1799, the coup was complete. The Directory was gone, and the consulate was established, with Napoleon, CAS, and Roger Ducos as the three consuls. However, it quickly became clear that Napoleon was the dominant figure. Within months, he had consolidated power, effectively sidelining his co-consuls and becoming first consul, the supreme ruler of France. But Napoleon wasn't done. In 1704, at the age of 35, he crowned himself Emperor of the French in a lavish ceremony, signaling that his ambition had transcended even the republican ideals of the revolution. "I am the revolution," he declared, solidifying his image as both a ruler and a symbol of change. Napoleon's success wasn't just luck or circumstance, it was built on a foundation of relentless habits. Let's explore three key practices that propelled him to greatness. Meticulous preparation. Napoleon was infamous for his ability to process immense amounts of information. He often worked late into the night, reading reports, studying maps, and planning his next move. His mastery of logistics allowed him to move armies with unprecedented speed, often catching his enemies off guard. It is said he planned to the point of having contingencies for contingencies. This meticulous preparation was evident in battles like Austerlitz in 1805, where his strategic genius led to a crushing defeat of Russian and Austrian forces. Decisive action. Napoleon was not one to hesitate. He believed that success required boldness and a willingness to act when others faltered. "Take time to deliberate," he said, "but when the time for action comes, stop thinking and go in." His decisiveness often gave him an edge over more cautious opponents. Inspiring leadership. Napoleon understood the power of morale. He frequently mingled with his troops, addressing them directly and sharing in their hardships. His men would famously say, "The little corporal eats and sleeps like us." This connection inspired loyalty and an almost mythical belief in his leadership. It's why his army followed him even into the bitter cold of Russia. For all his brilliance, Napoleon's greatest enemy was often his own ambition. By 1812, he controlled much of Europe, but his decision to invade Russia would prove catastrophic. Underestimating the harsh Russian winter and the resilience of his enemies, Napoleon's Grand Army, 600,000 strong at the start, was decimated during the campaign. Less than 10% of his forces returned. The defeat in Russia marked the beginning of Napoleon's decline. A coalition of European powers united against him, and in 1814 he was forced to abdicate and was exiled to the island of Elba. Yet even in defeat, Napoleon's resilience shone through. In 1815 he escaped Elba and returned to France, rallying an army and briefly reclaiming power in a period known as the 100 Days. But the dream was short-lived. At the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon faced a decisive defeat against British and Prussian forces led by the Duke of Wellington. Captured and exiled once again, this time to the remote island of St. Helena, he spent the final years of his life reflecting on his legacy. "Glory is fleeting," he wrote, "but obscurity is forever." Napoleon died on May 5, 1821, but his impact on the world endures. His military strategies are still studied in academies worldwide, and his legal reforms, known as the Napoleonic Code, form the foundation of modern legal systems in many countries. Beyond his accomplishments, Napoleon's story is a testament to human ambition, resilience, and the duality of greatness. His life raises profound questions. How far should one go in the pursuit of power? And what price are we willing to pay for our dreams? For Napoleon, the answers lay in action, vision, and an unrelenting drive to shape the world around him. If Napoleon's journey inspires you, Consider the habits that made him successful and how they can be applied to your own life. What bold steps will you take? What legacy will you leave behind? Now, let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story of one of history's most remarkable figures. Vive l'Empereur!